Now we're ready to start making the leaves for the tree. And there are 5 sections to the leaves, and we're going to start with the middle section. It's called leaves 3. There's only one of this one to make. So there is a template in the cutting guide, and you'll want to make 2 of these out of medium weight chipboard. And then we will also need some other pieces of chipboard. You need 3 at 1 inch by 12 inches, and make sure the stiffness is going in the 12-inch direction. I just cut a whole bunch of little 1/4 inch medium weight chipboard strips, because by the time we finish making the leaves we'll need quite a few of these. I think I've started with about 8 of these here. This particular leaf section is 1 inch thick, and so in order to join all the little sections, I've pre-cut some little cardstock joining strips to just a little bit shorter than 1 inch, just so that I'm all ready to do that. I also have some regular we'll need several of these cardstock joining strips that are these are all cut 3/4 of an inch wide and scored at 3/8 in the middle, like I generally do. The other thing is, once you cut your 2 templates, you'll take the 1 inch strips, and similar to how we did the roots for the tree trunk, we're going to measure out, going all the way around here, all the little pieces that we'll need. Now for this one, you can see I've already got them measured out. I'm going to go ahead and cut them and just lay them out in order. They're big enough, since they're 1 inch wide, that they won't tend to get lost. So I'm going to finish that cutting, cut my 2 templates, and then I'll be back to start the construction with you. I'm back. I've got my 2 chipboard templates cut of the main leaf section. We don't need them right away, so I'm going to set them aside. And then here are all my little 1 inch sections that I've laid out in order, going around the perimeter of leaves number 3. So let's get started joining them together. Similar to the roots, we have some innies and some outies, and the first thing I'm going to start here joining 1 3/4 to 1. And let me just get my garbage bowl out here. So when I add 1 to 1 3/4, it's coming along the innie, so I'm going to be building this from left to right, and I'm going to put, anytime it's an innie, I'm going to put it on, I'm going to try to keep it straight and put it on the side without writing. So there, and because these are so big, I'm going to burnish as I go along. So here we're starting to build the perimeter up. And the 3/8 is also an innie, so we'll come along here and add that. And I'm going to keep these aligned with my line on my craft mat, so that I can keep this straight as I'm going along. Now I can see as I'm coming here that the 1 1/4 is an outie. So when I go to put the 1 1/4 on, I'll join it on the side with the writing. I'll get one of those. It helps to have a little system like this, but the odds are before you finish these that you'll get something, going the wrong way, and then you'll just fix it and move on. Alright, so there's the 1 1/4. And I can see number 2 is an innie. So we'll flip it this way, and put the join on this side. Oops. I put it on the wrong end. Put that one to the side. Alright. That's better. So I'm just going to proceed along around my template, making my innies and outies, and I'll be back when I've constructed the whole perimeter. I'm back. I've got my strip all put together, and I would like to say that as I went along, I kept coming back to my template, putting it up like this, making sure I had my innies and outies the way I wanted them to be. And I have not joined this final corner here because it will make putting on the joining strips on the inside a lot easier if you can just work in the flat. So what I want to do, just to help myself remember which side I'm going to add the joining strips to, it's on the bottom and on the inside. So I'm just coming in here and I'm making a pretty crude arrow, as it turns out, but I've made an arrow, you can see it right here, that tells me that's the side I want to put my joining strips on. So I don't need this template anymore for now. So what we want to do now, we're going to take our long joining strips and we're going to put them basically in a line along this bottom edge. Now, anytime we get to where there's an outie join, we want to cut the strip. Where there's an innie join, we can just make a release cut in the part that's not attached. But when there's an outie, we need to actually cut the strip at that point and then restart it. So you might just want to come along and mark where those outies are, just because it's kind of hard to see them sometimes when it's in the flat. So I'm just taking a Sharpie marker and marking the intersections of all the outies along there. And I think that shows up on the camera. So what I can do now is I will just take strips of this, kind of measure along however you want to do it, and cut it, take the tape backing off of half of it, and just line up that bottom edge so that we're going to create a way to attach it to the other pieces. Now you can just leave these and make the release cuts at the end. That's what I'm going to do, I think, just so I can move along here. So that's what I'm going to do, is just add them all to this piece, and I'll be back when I've got that accomplished. I'm back. I've got the joining strips added all along the bottom here, and I gave it a good burnish, and now I'm going to flip it over. And on any of the innies, I'm just going to make a release cut. That's the ones without the backing. So just a little snip right where I can see that join is. I won't stop the camera because this is only going to take a minute. Okay, so now we can come around and get our last connection between the 8-inch piece. And if you're wondering where we are, here's our template, and I've got a couple that I'm going to have to cut a little bit more. Oh, here's one I missed cutting. There we go. So we need to make this connection right here between these two pieces. That's an innie, so I'm just going to stand it up and put the little joining strip on the inside there. So now we have our perimeter done, and we want to take one of our chipboard pieces that we cut from the template, and we are going to put this on top of it. The edges of the perimeter that we just made will line up with the edges on this template, so it will go right on top of the edges here. Now there may be times when it doesn't fit exactly, but it should be very close. So we will just kind of work our way around here, and if there's something that when I'm putting it together I see an adjustment should be made, I will make that adjustment on the template and or the measurements of this, so that by the time you make it, it will all fit together very nicely. So I'm going to just get started by joining this corner down here, this one right here, and then working my way around. And I find it easiest just to go ahead and take off all the tape backings and just kind of be careful about not letting it, not putting pressure on it, because it's hard to get at these once it's in kind of in position. So now that we have all of our pieces attached lightly, we'll check all our edges and see if they look pretty good. See if anything needs to be pushed out or pulled in a little bit. And if things look good, then we'll take our bone folder and go around the inside perimeter and give everything a good burnish. And we'll get prepared to put the second side on. Now here we are with our second side, and what we want to do here is to put this on the outside to finish this assembly off. So sometimes I like to get confused about which side I'm working on, so I'm just going to come out here and put outside on here because I want to work on the inside of this piece that we have to attach. So I'm putting that set aside and flipping this over so that I'm looking at the inside. And what I want to do here is to give myself a little extra gluing surface, not around the entire perimeter, but especially on these long straight spots, and then at various places around the edge. And the way I'm going to do that is with some of these 1/4-inch strips. And I'm just going to glue them down and hold them back from the edge the width of the chipboard. Because as you recall, what we did here was when we added the 1-inch strip, we brought it up even with the edge of this chipboard, so that if we wanted to have a gluing strip, it should be held back from that edge, the width of our chipboard, which in this case with this graphics chipboard is about a 1/16 of an inch. You can also just take a scrap piece of chipboard, see if I've got a little one here, and just hold it up to that edge and see about where that should go. So what I'm going to do is just cut some pieces and put them around in various spots. And then I'll glue them down and I'll be back to show you the next step. So I've completed putting the little strips around, and I've zoomed in a little bit so hopefully you can see where they are. And I didn't go on every single spot, but I did go on a lot of them. And in real time it only took about 5 minutes or so. It wasn't a big job. So now what we want to do is we will be fitting this piece on top of this one, and using those little ledgers that we put in, they will fit inside, and we will be gluing this around and working our way around. Now I also have my craft knife out here, and in case I need to encourage anybody to fit inside, that thin blade helps to do that. So now what we want to do is just put a bead of glue, and I'm going to put it on the inside of this piece here, and then I don't think this will be too messy, so I won't put something down. We'll see if those are famous last words or not. So just in that kind of groove. Of course there went the glue spurting all over since I said it wasn't going to be messy. Just put some glue in that groove. I'm not worried if it's too much. I should say, if I didn't already, that when after we put these together, there'll be finishing strips that will go on the outside, which will cover up you know, any little imperfections that there are. So don't worry if things aren't fitting precisely together. This little fine tip glue bottle is real handy for jobs like this. So just kind of looking at these edges. kind of working my way around here, seeing what needs to be encouraged to come out a little bit. It's pretty good over here. As I get a spot good, I'll just kind of hold some pressure on it and work my way around right here. Obviously, when I finish using this craft knife for this purpose, I'll need to change the blade, but that's okay. Work my way around to this end. Just kind of putting my blade in there, and then I can pull those pieces out a little bit. Down here it's looking pretty good. Now just kind of chase it all around here and see what we got going on. That's good. So I'm going to just keep some pressure on that for a couple minutes. Now we're going to finish off the edges of leaves 3, the middle section of the leaves, and to do that we need 2 strips of green cardstock that are cut 12 inches by 1 7/8 inches wide, and we'll score them at 3/8 inch in on either side. That will create a 1 1/8 inch channel, or if you want to think about it this way, you'll score at 3/8 and then at 1 1/2. And you need 2 of those, and then put some score tape on them, put a strip in each of the channels, and then some in the middle section. Now there's going to require a join. That's why we have 2 pieces. It is this perimeter is longer than 12 inches. We do not have to come and do the majority of this inside of this L section. We'll come about an inch or so in on either side, but we don't have to do the main part in here. So I like to find a place to have a join that's not going to be too noticeable, and probably it will be, and also so I only have to do 1, and I think it will be about, I think we can do it right here. So I'm just going to darken that edge. I'm going to try to make these meet exactly, but just in case, I'm just taking out a little of what I like to call insurance with a dark green marker, dark marker of some kind, right in that join. Now, the process we're going to do also will create some gaps in anything that is an angle in. Now, you could either color that in with a marker like this, or you could take some little strips of the leftover green cardstock and sneak them into those joins, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'll show you that after we put a strip on. So to get started, I'm just going to peel back some of this score tape backing. And frankly, these tails start to get aggravating to me, so I just give them a little haircut so they're not in my way. And what we want to do here is to just first attach the central channel only. So I'm just getting that into that V right there, and then picking it up and looking to make sure I have it centered in that central channel. And then I'll look at where this first point is, and on either side, on the little 3/8 inch side, I'm going to make a release cut. Usually I look to see where it is on one side and then flip it up to the top and then just make that cut at the same distance on the following side. So in order to do the method for covering up the V's that I'm going to show you, just lightly fold these sections down as you proceed on to go around. Now, next one, we're going to just follow the same procedure, sticking down the center position until we get to the next kind of change in angle, peeking underneath here to see where to make that release cut, making a matching cut on the other side. And you can peek underneath here and, you know, if you're more comfortable, look on both sides and make that cut. And then lightly put those down, don't put them down heavy, and then move on to the next section, keeping your middle section in the channel at all times, looking to see where that cut should be. Putting them down lightly and just moving on to the next section. So I'm going to continue around till I get to the end, and then I'll be back to show you what's next. I've come back because I want to show you what to do in this really deep corner here. Make sure that you get it so that it fits down into that corner. Just kind of hold that cardstock back and use your fingernails or take your bone folder in there and get it into that crease really nice and well there. I'm just about ready to make the final turn here, and I wanted to show you what I did with this corner, and that is to cut out little triangles. And I've held, instead of cutting just straight into the joint here, I've cut it back at a little bit of an angle and then just removed a little piece, a little wedge piece. Now I know I said that we only had to go back an inch. There's only a little bit over an inch on that piece, so I'm not going to trim it off. I'm just going to use that whole piece there. Okay, now I would take the other piece that I have and start at this intersection and work my way around here, and I only need to come about an inch or so up here. So let me do that and I'll be back. I finished going around the perimeter, and now I want to show you how I'm going to treat these little corners that I said that you could either put some marker on, or I would show you an alternate way to finish them. So I'm just cutting some little pieces of sticky cardstock from the leftover ends that I had when I went around the perimeter. And since I didn't fasten these down tightly, I'm able just to sneak in a little piece of cardstock and then put that down. And then this won't, even if I hold the decorative paper back further, it won't be as noticeable. Now, is that a big deal? No. But, you know, everybody has their own way of wanting to finish things. That's just how I decided to do this one. So I'm just cutting some little snippets off of that paper and sticking the little wedges in here. Sometimes I need to use my little spatula to get them in where I want them to be. And I'll just do that on both sides of the leaves. And then I'll give that a good burnish and I'll be back. So I've given everything a good burnish on both sides and around the center, and that finishes the construction for leaves 3, and we will add the decorative paper at a later date.